We're here today to say a great big thank you to Senator Rockefeller. He has become a national champion, not just a West Virginia champion for healthcare reform. And this is one of our ways of saying thank you. And keep the fight, keep fighting big insurance, keep fighting for a public option. We have several speakers here today. This is the first part of this activity today. The second part will be, we're going to be walking up to the sidewalk across from CAMC and setting up a mock crime scene to demonstrate that it's a crime to deny care. And that's something that happens every day. Unfortunately, big insurance makes its oversized profits by denying care to people. And our first speaker today is Megan Garner from Organizing for America. Megan, will you come up to the microphone, please?
Hello everyone, I'm Megan Garner and I'm the State Director for Organizing for America, the grassroots arm of the White House here in West Virginia. We want to thank Senator Rockefeller for his continued work on healthcare reform. His leadership in the Senate has been instrumental in making sure that all Americans have access to quality, affordable healthcare coverage. Organizing for America volunteers around the country have been urging their representatives and their senators to work for healthcare reform that engages President Obama's plan for healthcare reform. 1, more stability and security for the uninsured, including protecting Medicare and prohibiting insurance companies from denying coverage based on a pre-existing condition. 2, more affordable choices for the uninsured, including creating a public option for those who can't find affordable coverage. And 3, to reduce healthcare costs for all Americans that won't add a dime to our deficit and will work to eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse in the healthcare system. Organizing for America is pleased to have such an advocate in Senator Rockefeller. He has been at the forefront of making sure this healthcare reform is realized in full, and we thank him for his leadership thus far, and we look forward to his direction in future talks with the Senate as we all work for healthcare reform that works for all Americans. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Our next speaker is Sam Hickman, who's the CEO of the West Virginia chapter of the National Association for Social Workers.
Thanks, Gary. These aren't the best acoustic conditions. I'm sure you probably want individual interviews, so I'll be very brief. Also, I've got a bug in my throat. I need a health care provider. Senator Rockefeller has had our backs on health care reform and health insurance reform in this country. He's had the backs of every child in this state, every child in this country, and it's so important that adults step up and know that every child matters. Every child in this country has to be brought forward, given the best health care that's available in this wonderful country of ours to help them prosper. To me, the promise of health insurance reform and health care reform are that everybody can reach their fullest potential. We take that big albatross of whether or not we have health care, whether or not we're able to keep our homes because of medical malfeasance, medical bankruptcy. If those problems were lifted off of our shoulders, each of our citizens could reach their fullest potential. But this week, I think we've seen Senator Rockefeller give a very, very heartfelt account of his time as a volunteer in West Virginia, working with people, trying to help children, and the caring that he brings to that position is something we should all be patting him on the back for. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Sam. Our next speaker is Sherry McKinney, the Political Director of SEIU 1199, Service Employees International. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. We appreciate everyone coming out today. And we're here with Service Employees International Union, District 1199, to thank Senator Rockefeller for being a champion in health care, not only in the state of West Virginia, but across this country. There's so many families here that suffer every day without health insurance. Health insurance should not be a privilege. It should be a right for everyone in the state of West Virginia. We know that's something that Senator Rockefeller stands for, something that we stand for. But the fight's just begun. We have a lot of days ahead of us and a lot of work to do. We have to continue to be here for Senator Rockefeller, let him know that people in this state support his efforts and what he's doing, and continue to make the calls, write the letters, and let everyone across this country know who and what Senator Rockefeller stands up for and that we're here with him. Thanks.
I just wanted to note that the leadership of the West Virginia AFL-CIO could not be here today because they're organizing their state convention right now. They're having meetings right now for the state convention, but they would be here if they weren't. But we're also pleased to have Beth Baldwin here, who's president of the West Virginia Nurses Association. Beth is a nurse practitioner in Morgantown, and she'd like to say a few words.
Well, thank you for having me, and we would like to thank Senator Rockefeller from the West Virginia Nurses Association. We are very proud to have Senator Rockefeller champion healthcare reform and insurance reform for West Virginia and all of the nation. The American Nurses Association has been very involved in healthcare reform, and we feel it's imperative that we get something done and we get something done soon. We are on the front lines of healthcare as nurses, and we see many of our patients suffer, many of our family members and many of our friends who are not covered through healthcare or who do not have enough coverage. Personally, we see family and friends who work every day of their lives, and when they come to need the coverage, it's not enough coverage. They end up with enormous bills, co-pays and deductibles that are completely unacceptable. We see people just one step away from financial disaster due to health disparities, and we are very distressed about this. So the nurses of West Virginia would like to thank Senator Rockefeller for all that he has done for healthcare reform, and applaud him for being on the front lines behind the people of West Virginia.
And last but not least, our next speaker is Harry Bryant, who's the Director of West Virginians for Affordable Health Care.
Just very briefly, Senator Rockefeller has a long-standing history of being a leader on healthcare issues. He was one of 4 senators who came together, 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans, 11 years ago, forged the compromise that became the Children's Health Insurance Program. Covers about 20 million Americans today because of his efforts. You might also recall that he was a champion of making sure that minor workers and their dependents, also their widows, received health insurance coverage, and we didn't break with the tradition that we have in providing that benefit to the non-minor workers and others. And this last several weeks, the senator has been a leader on the Senate Senate Finance Committee, both in trying to get a public option adopted and also preserving the Children's Health Insurance Program that would have gone into the exchange, and he was successful in getting an amendment adopted that will delay that until 2019 to make sure that children aren't left out of this process as we reform health care. And so it really, I'm struck with the passage of Senator Ted Kennedy. The torch really has been passed to Jay Rockefeller, who is now the leading spokesperson for consumers in healthcare in the nation's capital. I'm very honored and humbled to have Senator Rockefeller representing our interests in Washington, and very grateful for everything he has done for healthcare. Thank you.
Okay, this concludes the indoor portion of our event today.